it's Haley, and I am so excited to be joined today by a company that is really at the forefront of helping provide access to healthcare for you all at home, Winx Health. We have a lot to talk about, so we're going to dive right in, and I'm going to kick us off by asking you both to introduce yourselves and explain a little bit about what Winx Health is and what its mission really means.
So I'm Jamie. I am one of the co-founders of Winx.
I'm Cynthia.
And Winx is basically a vaginal and sexual health hub where we provide the products and the intel that you need to make confident decisions about your body. We have products ranging from a pregnancy test to emergency contraception, and we also have a sex ed platform called Real Talk where we answer what we like to say, like, your most Googled health questions.
And we started Winx back in 2019 when empowering confident health decisions didn't really have the same reaction it might have today. The world around us has changed so much, from the second Trump presidency to the fall of Roe v. Wade to really restricted access to women's health across the board in so many different ways. And so now more than ever, we are empowered, excited, and honored to do this work.
You mentioned sort of how much the women's healthcare landscape has evolved. You know, I think it is not a surprise to anyone that women's healthcare is really a huge political battle right now. But when people think about that, they're oftentimes really only thinking about access to abortion care.
Yeah.
And while that is so on the front line, so much of women's healthcare is politicized, if not the entire spectrum of it, from prenatal care to postpartum care to access to contraception and emergency contraception. When you first founded Winx, you were a direct-to-consumer pregnancy test company. Can you talk a little bit about why that was sort of your initial entrance and why access to pregnancy tests are so important? And then we'll kind of go deeper from there.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that access to pregnancy tests have never been as important as they are today. If you think about like a 6-week abortion ban, a lot of women don't know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. And I think that the stat is like half of women taking pregnancy tests don't want to be pregnant. And that was kind of the thesis behind our original product, was like, we were like, let's create a brand for the women who don't want to be pregnant. Let's make it really empowering and cute and like easy to understand. This was in 2019, like the world looked really different. And, you know, fast forward to today, we have 7 SKUs, 7 products. We're in vaginal health, UTI care, reproductive health. And we realized that, you know, women's health and sexual health is so much more than like a line or 2 on a pregnancy test. So that's why we expanded. That's why we rebranded to Winx Health. But yeah, every single product we offer like is so increasingly important. I could ramble about UTIs, but like they're the most common outpatient infection in our country, and most women don't have access to an OBGYN.
Yeah, and I mean, not just products, but so much of what we do is really about education. And that is what is at the heart of the Winx brand, because 2/3 of states don't require sex ed to be medically accurate.
Yep.
2/3.
It's crazy.
That's
And
crazy.
We've talked about Baby Olivia recently on my platform, that video that they're entering into sex education that is just completely scientifically inaccurate.
Yeah.
So it's really scary.
It's really scary, and it means anybody can say anything. And so much of what we're trying to do is give women that control over their own bodies through not just products that can make that easier and better, but information and education too.
Yeah.
It's so important, and like you said, it's never been more needed, but it really is hard to find that factual information. So we're going to talk about Real Talk in a minute, but I want to talk about sort of the way that you've evolved into products. You mentioned that, you know, you started with pregnancy tests, but you've really added 7 products, or you have 7 products now. And you have really been amazing at developing those products along with the needs of people like us at home who are watching as the political landscape has changed. So after Roe v. Wade was overturned, you came out pretty quickly, I think within like a week, with an emergency contraceptive product and donated over 30,000 free doses, which is amazing. Can we sort of, how we just talked about the importance of pregnancy tests, why emergency contraception? Why is that so important right now? I mean, we're having this conversation in Texas, which is the state with the strictest, or one of the strictest abortion bans in the country, with SB8. And emergency contraception is some of the only ways that women have right now to sort of take care of themselves if they find themselves in a situation where they were unprotected. So why was that so important to you all?
Yeah, so we launched our Restart Morning After Pill, which is an emergency contraceptive the week that the Dobbs decision was leaked. And that was no coincidence. Like, we were following the courts really closely. We knew that they would be voting on that case that June. So we were
it did come a month earlier than we expected.
Yeah, it did. The leak was unanticipated. But we basically were, we had been thinking about emergency contraception for a long time because it's so important. But we knew that as the landscape was shifting, it was so important that we fast-tracked this to make sure that women not only had access to a good, safe product, but that they knew that it was effective, legal, and available. Over 50% of people think that emergency contraception is the same thing as the abortion pill, and therefore think they cannot access it. And emergency contraception prevents pregnancy from happening. That's obviously really important as birth control, but it's even more important now that abortions are so restricted. So we really made it our mission to spread the word that the morning after pill is still legal. When we launched, we took out billboards in red states, just stating that fact. And pretty much all of the marketing we do as a company is focused on education rather than the product. Because people know that these products exist, but the problem isn't that, they're hard to get or that they can't find them. It's that they don't know that they even are legal.
Yeah.
So it's a big issue.
Yeah, and just to amplify, accessibility in women's health and reproductive health means so many different things. It means affordability, and that's part of why we gave away 36,000 doses of the Restart Morning After pill for free. It means understanding and education, like Jamie talked about, knowing that the morning after pill and the abortion pill are different things. But it also means having the products where and when you need them, or the resources where and when you need them. And so in the US, actually, 50% of states, in the US, 50% of counties don't have OBGYNs in them.
That's a staggering statistic
Yeah.
if you think about it.
Half. That's half.
And we work in this space, and when we learned that stat, we were dumbfounded.
Yeah, it means that if you live in one of these countries, you cannot access the care that you might need. And that's only actually going to get worse. So here in Texas, where we are right now, in 5 years, there's going to be 15% fewer OBGYNs than needed in this whole state of Texas, because increasing restrictions on healthcare providers when it comes to reproductive care are forcing providers out of state. So accessibility means so many different things, and we can't solve everything, but for us, it's been really meaningful to be able to at least solve this one problem for women.
The main problem that we want to solve. I always say to people, if you have access to an OBGYN and it's easy for you to get to and you can afford it, go talk about your health with them. But so many people are uninsured, underinsured, don't even know where to begin. And for those people, having digital solutions and products available online like ours, or we're in other places too, but that's a great starting point. We just want to address the problem head on with access.
And access is constantly under attack. You mentioned that very staggering statistic about 50 counties in America, but maternal health care deserts, as you said, are only going to get worse. And a real, I think, interesting talking point about that is that the most expensive healthcare is always when it's an emergency. And emergency situations when it comes to pregnancy is where we're seeing so many women lose their lives, maternal mortality rates, because of strict abortion bans. So being able to provide access to good prenatal care, maternal OBGYN care at the early stages of pregnancy and throughout an entire woman's life is so critical.
Listen, access to women's healthcare isn't just a body autonomy issue, it's an economic issue.
Absolutely.
Right? If women can't get access to reproductive care, if women can't control when or if they want to have a family, we're losing access to contribution to the workforce, contribution to the GDP, expensive childcare, government subsidizing these things. Abortion has these repercussions so far beyond just my body or body or body.
Absolutely. And it's a problem that you can tackle from so many different angles, but we're choosing emergency contraception because it's such a tangible solve for this.
And legal. It's so legal.
It's for now. For now. We're keeping tabs. But it's safe, it's effective, and if we can dispel these misconceptions, so many people think it's gonna make them infertile, think they're gonna be having awful symptoms for weeks and weeks after, think that they can only take it a certain number of times. It is 100% safe and effective. There's lots of really trusted, verified information on our site and other places as well. So it's all about just finding out what is true.
Yeah.
So I
Which is
want
hard.
to use this segue to
Yeah.
myth bust a little bit because I
yeah.
think there is so much misinformation, so much disinformation online. Something that I think is so cool about Winx is your Real Talk section on your website, which they mentioned earlier, which is just a place for you guys to get fact-based information. So what is, to both of you, sort of the biggest misconceptions you see around emergency contraceptive care, around reproductive health in general that you want to myth bust right now? And then I think it would be really cool also to talk a little bit about some of those myths you mentioned around specifically the morning after pills.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the biggest myth that we like to scream about the most is that the morning after pill and the abortion pill are not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And say it 6 more times. No, just kidding.
We'll replay it. We'll replay it.
This is backwards. Yeah, I mean, they're totally different. The abortion pill terminates an existing pregnancy. The morning after pill prevents it from happening. Morning after pill, safe, legal, anybody, any age, any state.
Yeah. Another big misconception is that you need a prescription to access it, or you need to be over a certain age. That changed in I don't know the exact
The
year.
mid-2010s.
Yeah, like when we were in high school, it changed. But anyone of any age can buy emergency contraception over the counter. So they're not going
Which is crazy to think about that we were only in high school when this product became available to 16-year-olds.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
that's so recent.
You could get it, but you needed parental consent, and like imagine how many people would not go to their parents or something like that,
Yeah.
and then instead, like, then you're left with maybe a difficult decision. But it's available; anyone can buy it. You can get it at the grocery store. You can get it on GoPuff. You can get it at CVS. Like, it's really like available in every single state, in every single place, and people just don't know that, and that's like what we want to shout from the rooftops the most.
Okay, so a question that I have that I do hear a lot is
Yeah.
about the expiration dates
Mhm.
of morning after pills or emergency contraception. You know, can people purchase one and put it in their drawer, their nightside table to have in
Yeah.
case of emergencies for preparedness purposes?
Yeah.
Is there a lifespan?
Yeah. They do have expiration dates. Most are expiration dated for 4 years out. So just make sure that like you take note of the expiration date. You can circle it in Sharpie, you know, like, but we are huge advocates for having this product on hand like you would an Advil. Like, we hear from people all the time, especially from like college women, that they're stocking up for the girls on their floor. We hear from...
I mean, I keep them stocked for all my friends.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, like we're in our 30s, you know, like it's really important to be proactive, especially now when the future is uncertain and there are threats to birth control and emergency contraception. So yes, it does have an expiration date. Don't take it if it's after the expiration date, but you're gonna have like years on that product.
Great. I think that's so important to stock up, put it in your nightside table. put it
We'll
in your
pause right now.
bathroom.
Everybody order yours.
Yes, right now. We'll put a link. But to kind of wrap us up a little bit, I want to ask you both. We mentioned we're in Texas right now, a state with very strict abortion bans, and we've seen businesses and private companies really step up to the plate to help protect their employees, the communities here, and make sure that they have access to reproductive health care, whatever that looks like during the changing landscape. And we've seen that sort of across the country. So as a company doing such incredible work, what role do companies like yourselves and just companies across America have to play or should be playing when it comes to helping make sure people have access to reproductive health care?
Yeah, I think the role of a company in general has changed a lot in the past 6 weeks, and like our moral and ethical prerogative has changed a lot with that. You know, we have, since Roe v. Wade, really stepped into the political arena, and then most recently really jumped in, I would say, with both feet in this most recent election. And we've seen that when we stick up for our community, we as a brand, we as a company, we win too.
Yeah.
And so I think the most important thing that I think every leader should know is that taking a stand on something you care about can not only make a difference, but can also help build a better business.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people, we say this all the time, get really scared to take a stance on something that can be very polarizing. But the truth is, I love to say that neither of us ever chose to make our bodies political. Somebody else did that to us, and we're just standing up for them. And I think that's really been a huge part of our success.
Yeah.
I think that was great. That was
Yeah,
perfect way to
beautifully
answer
said.
that. Yeah, beautifully said. I mean, women are 51% of the population, and they are part of the workforce. They help your company thrive, and so helping to stand up for them is so important.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for what you do, and really appreciate you sitting down and having a conversation with us.
Yeah, thanks
Thank you for having us.
This was fun.
Really good.
Let's do it again.
Amazing.